Top 5 reasons to retire in Portland, Maine. That's what we're going to talk about here today. In the first of my 50-state tour on the top 5 reasons you should retire in all 50 states. And being that I'm a homeboy from Maine, born and raised, I thought I'd start with some guys up in Portland, Maine, Matt Duchesne and Mike Weissman. I'll share with you their website and whatnot. It's going to be a lot of fun. I'm looking forward to having these discussions. We'll be talking to Connecticut next. I got someone from Connecticut. We'll share with you that. And it won't be today, but probably once a week we'll be doing this. It's going to be a lot of fun. All right, so the premise here is Mike and Matt, just good guys. I like them a lot. Matt's got 6 kids. Mike's got 6 kids. Matt's from Fort Kent, and he found his way to Portland to finish up at USM. He lived while he was going to University of Southern Maine, literally a couple of houses up the street from where I lived for 3 years of my life on Dean Street, and which is nuts. And just good all-around guys. I like him. Matt's a little bit younger. Mike's a little bit older. Mike comes from a background of financial planning and investment management. Matt comes from a background where he did work construction. He worked on a crew and learned from the ground up. And I just, real estate investors they are, but now they're professionals. I just think it's great. So I think you'll get a lot out of this conversation with them. I had to cut it out a lot because we just talked. It was fun, and I can't have it too long. Will never get uploaded. So let's just go. So I had to cut it out. We went to the top 5 reasons. And look, I'm not the editing genius. So we start with number 1, which was the trails. Lots of trails. And Matt was telling me about trails.org. Which has a Sebago to the trail, a Sebago to the sea hiking trail is 28 miles, which is awesome. Unfortunately, I cut out there before I went to the number 2 reasons, which was health. But there's still a lot of good content you'll get from this. But remember, trails and hiking was number 1. I did not realize there's Sebago to the sea hiking trail in Portland. That is awesome. And if you go to trails.org, apparently you can pull that up. It's good. All right, so here goes their website right here, realportlandmaine.com. There they are, Mike and Matt. All right, just good all-around guys. Great YouTube channel. At the Real Portland, Maine team, our focus is to help you sell your Portland, Maine house faster for more money and help you find and buy the perfect home with less hassle. That's freaking fantastic. I love it. And they just all kinds of great stuff on here. Let's find their YouTube channel. So bear with me just a second. So here's their YouTube channel. What is it? Living in Portland, Maine. Lots of videos. Not a huge amount of subscribers. So definitely subscribe, my friends. If you have any affinity towards Portland at all, or Maine, generally speaking, it'd be this cool channel to look at for sure. So subscribe to Living in Portland, Maine, and I think you'll enjoy it. So now what we did talk about, and I'll put links, of course, in the show notes. So we talked about, I said, how much does it cost to heat your home? Mike lives out in Richmond, Maine. I don't even know where that is, but it's in the greater Portland area, I guess on the outskirts, halfway between Portland and Augusta. I think he's got a couple acres or something like that. And he says about 300, what do you say? About $3,000 a year is their heating bill. That's not extensive. It's $250 a month, roughly amortized over 12 months. But he said about $3,000 a year. He has heat. I think he has wood, and I think he has natural gas as well. Matt does not have natural gas. He has electricity and wood as well. Matt lives in the town. I think Matt, I can't remember if Matt's got, I know he's married, but I can't remember if he's got kids. I just can't recall. But anyway, Mike, he lives out there in the sticks, so to speak, on a couple acres, wants some space. And it costs about, $3,000 a year for heating. Neither of them have air conditioning. So just FYI, there's no bill for air conditioning. I asked about property taxes. Property taxes in Maine aren't cheap. That's all there is to it. So, I'd say probably, let's look here. If we look at a house in Maine, just give an example, we'll just use my realtor.com app, and we can see here, I'm going to pick just a house in Maine. We'll see what it is. Looking at Portland, bear with me just a second. There's one right there. All right, so we got a house in Maine. We're looking at property tax, and this is literally, I'm sure it's county. This is a $769,000 house, and this is in some place called Falmouth. Okay, Falmouth. It's a nice part of Maine for sure. $838 a month is property tax, and about $769,000. And again, this is not representative. I'm just giving you an example. Costs $10,000 a year in property tax on $769,000. What they're asking, so that's about 1.2, 1.3%. which is on the high end for sure, but it's not extraordinarily high. On top of my head, I can't. Well, let's look at Maine income taxes. Let's take a gander, shall we? So let's type in, go to DuckDuckGo, Maine income tax. All right. Let's see what the Maine income taxes are. Let's do 2019. Yeah, there we go. Maine income tax. I have no idea what it is. State of Maine income tax brackets 2019, which is from taxbrackets.com. So if you make, last single, if you make over 100,000, 7.15. So that ain't cheap, that's for sure. If you don't make anything, fine. So Maine's income tax is pretty high, without question. 43,000 and above is 6 3/4. 100,000 and more is 7.15. They gotta have some kind of tax, some significant. I would think. Let's take on Maine tax calculator. Let's take a gander. So let's say we are married, filing jointly, and we're just gonna say we're making 80,000 a year. Okay. That's a pretty good website. Not familiar with it. Okay, dependents, we got foul. All right, live in Maine, and let's just, for simplicity, view quick estimate. Wow, it's going to cost you $2,700 in Maine tax. That's not so bad. Huh? Is that right? Let's do a detail estimate. All right, well, I'm getting off topic here. This is pretty sweet. I like this website, man. All right, I like that quite a bit. All right, anyway, be it as it may. Maine, that seemed low to me. What did I say? $2,700 on $80,000. That seemed low. So they must give it a pretty high standard deduction. That's 3.3. That's not bad. From an income tax perspective, it's not bad. So the cost of heating, about $3,000 a year, probably another, probably $1,000 a year in electricity. We'll just say maybe $1,200, another $100 a month, and that I literally don't know, but $400 a month for heating, electricity. There are videos that go over this pretty thoroughly, actually. What else are we going to throw in there? Talk about property tax, talk about income tax. I'm not sure what auto insurance rates are, not sure what homeowners, but there's no hurricanes of any sort, so I can't imagine homeowners are all that expensive up there. Well, let's see. This house right here had a homeowner's insurance of $120 a month on a $700,000 home. That's $1,500 a year. So throwing homeowners insurance so less, let's just say $100 a month is another $1,200. Food's a little bit more expensive up there, presumably. Actually, I don't know that to be true because lobsters are so cheap. But anyway, so that's Maine for us. Portland. Portland is the obviously, well, maybe not obviously, the metropolis of the state of Maine. Airport locally talked about. I don't think I captured in this video, but they do have an airport that's okay. It's okay. I can't remember if we talked about it or not. But to be honest with you, to take Logan and Boston is an hour and a half away. No reason not to drive down there. We're taking Uber down to Logan. Logan's fine. Logan's easy as heck to maneuver around. It's easy to get to, easy to get out of. Logan's fantastic. At least it was a few years back. And I pretty much they talk about what we talk about. We talk about the negative things on Maine. It gets dark early. They didn't talk about that so much. That's what I recall. The winters can be bare if you don't have some kind of community. So it can be very isolated if you're inside all the time. Now there's lots to do, and their videos show you all the things to do up there. But I guess that's pretty much all I want to say about Maine. But I'll put links to the show notes. These guys, I enjoyed it immensely. Follow their YouTube channel. Let's see if we can't get them above 1,000 people. I mean, obviously, you might not have any affinity to Maine, but they show you. It's not just they're sitting there yapping like your old buddy Josh. They actually show you. They go on a boat, for instance, and videotape, and you can see like Fort Gorgeous. They'll show you. I don't think they went to Peaks Island, but they show. It's just cool. It's cool if you like eyes on the ground of any kind of location, which I love. They're a great video for that, for sure. So I think you'll enjoy it immensely. Oh, one thing they did say, which is fantastic. I guess the FHA has changed rules on their on condos, which could be huge because we'll let you listen to it. But I said, man, that could be interesting there. It might be a huge demand now, or what would be a huge supply? A huge supply to meet the demand for condos, because if they made it more easy to get into one, that would increase the demand, which would increase the supply. I don't know. All right, so stay tuned. You'll see their episode of my YouTube channel. top 5 reasons to retire in said state. And here we talk about top 5 reasons. Well, we even talk about skiing, for heaven's sake, but they do talk about that on their own channel. So subscribe to their channel. But top 5 reasons to retire to Portland, Maine. All right, thanks, guys. We'll see you. Stay tuned. I'd love to hear your comments down below.
We're on retiring,
Sure.
right? So we have Maine is known for its medical services. So that's one of our sort of claims to fame in this area, New England. Excellent medical services from between really Portland, Augusta, out to Lewiston, Auburn. The hospital system, the network is excellent.
And the VA hospital is pretty close by too.
Right,
so.
right. And a lot of them, they're connected with the bigger places in Boston too. If something needs a more higher level intervention, almost every hospital has like a direct connection with, let's say, with Boston General, or one of the big hospitals down there. So you have that sort of that satellite of being of Boston, which is a real hub of medicine and a real hub of healthcare. But Maine is known for that. And
so it's known for, just so I'm clear, Mike. So the hospital system in Maine is quite adequate for retirees who are worried about.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's excellent. The healthcare system is excellent. There's urgent care centers around. I mean, there's a lot of satellite offices from the Maine medical centers
walk-in clinics.
that are walk-in clinics. So that is something that really Maine takes very seriously, as far as and a lot of people coming in as the research and teaching hospitals, things like that. So it's a good focus for medicine. It's a draw also to bring people in as far as the working force. But yeah, for retirees, I think that's really a good.
And so to find a doc, a knee guy or something like that, that's not going to put you 4 months out or anything like that. They got those kind of docs around that are ready, willing, and able to.
Exactly. Yeah.
Right.
You have to slip down to Boston for a specialist like that. Or some other retiring communities, you might not be as convenient. So.
That's hospital just built a brand new campus right on the Fore River, and Maine Med right now just added a huge wing and almost a 25% expansion. So they're both,
wow. Right there on the west end or whatever it's called, Maine Medical is expanding right there.
Exactly.
Wow.
Yeah, huge addition.
Yeah.
I have 100 extra rooms, something like that. So.
Man, that's crazy. What do they have, just while I'm yapping here? So you had Maine Medical, and then you had the other, you guys did a video on that we talked about on the back end. So you got the west end, and then along that river there, where you're going into the bridge to take it to South Portland, you know what I'm saying? I don't know what that's called down there, but
Fore River Parkway.
Right.
Okay, yeah. Okay, gotcha. That used to be somewhat of an industrial area. I imagine it's not like that anymore. How's that looking right now?
So the part of Commercial Street that is right near the bridge is still industrial.
Okay.
You have and there's also IMSKIP, which is a transatlantic shipping company, and we're actually the only North American port here. It goes straight to Rotterdam, and then
Really?
Yeah, so we got some pretty good transportation options. But further up the Fore Rivers, where that new Mercy hospital is, it's right between the 295 bridge and the Veterans Bridge.
Okay.
There's 3 bridges that cross the bay. The last one's the Casco Bay.
Okay.
And they just built a brand new campus out there. So all of Portland's becoming nicer and less industrial on the peninsula, at least.
Yeah, okay. But it's okay. No, that might go into a good segue about the actual port. I don't know if that's one of your top 5, but the working port, which is I find to be incredibly attractive. But was that one of your top 5 by chance?
We could make it one.
Yeah, make it one, because I think this gets overlooked because everyone has a fancy schmancy downtown overlooking with the Kenny Bunkport. That's nothing wrong with that. But what makes Portland so unique, in my opinion, and Portsmouth, New Hampshire too, is that there's actually real live people working there, if that makes sense. We want that doesn't have to be one of your top 5. I'm going to add it though. So address that, because you mentioned that in one of your videos. I think you said that, Matt. I think that needs to be discussed if you don't mind.
No, and I'm glad you brought that up, because you're right. It's one of the biggest gems here of the city. What makes Portland so unique, like you said, versus other cities. We have the working waterfront. Lobstermen, fish processors, other fishermen. There's one of my favorite places downtown is Harbor Fish Market. It's on one of the piers right near the ferry terminal. And you walk in the front to buy fish while the lobster boat's out the back unloading into the building. It's really neat.
Yep. And we also have, we can bring in full-size cruise ships too.
Yeah, no, that's cruise ships. And then what you were saying too about the going to Rotterdam. I mean, you know what I'm saying? All that stuff is when I used to work in Portsmouth, New Hampshire for about 3 months or so, looking over, and you see these huge ships come from Singapore and Indonesia, and literally docking right there, and you're like, that's pretty cool. You don't see that. I hate to pick on Newburyport because I literally don't know if this is true or not, but you don't see that in a lot of these other coastal communities. I mean, this is real live human people are working there, and I just it's appealing because it's not just a tourist trap, if that makes sense.
Yeah, and they just announced an expansion to our shipping port too. One of the ideas they have is to have interstate, coastal shipping. So instead of having trucks go from Maine to Florida, they're going to open up new routes in the next few months because they have the people that have the cargo and everything. It's just to set it in place to go from Portland to Florida with a cargo ship instead. So to alleviate the wear and tear on the roads, and I guess it's less transportation costs too.
Oh man, that's fantastic. So even they still have the Bath Ironworks, like the dry dock in there.
Sure, right up the road in Bath. That's still going strong. They just got another contract awarded for another destroyer. I forget what they're building now, but
a lot of military contracts.
The Coast Guard, those boats are flying around and forth, back and forth. I'm still imagine, right? I mean, that was always pretty cool to see the Moran tugboats, the Coast Guard ships, and all that stuff. I mean, that's cool. It's just different than a lot of other towns on that. Okay, good. I sorry to add that to your list, but
happy to talk about it.
It's a nautical heritage too. People that like
absolutely
and are drawn to. There's a lot of nautical buffs. People that just like the water, from the old Portland Light and the history of it, things like that. It's you love the sea, you love the nautical history of things. It's a great place.
Sure.
Man, there's so much history of that. Just in the bay, and just like, and you all did a video where you're literally on a boat talking about that, which I'll link here because I thought that was fantastic. And all right, no, keep going, guys. If you have, what's your next top reason?
All right, so we got access to a lot of culture, and arts. And one of our videos also is it's called First Friday. The first Friday of the month is the art walk, where all the art museums in Portland Art District open up. They're all potentially open their doors. They're either mostly free at that point, I think, right?
Yeah, the galleries will open up and have free access. Congress Street is the arts district from basically where High Street crosses Congress.
Right.
Okay.
All the way down to about Exchange Street, about Monument Square area.
Yep.
And it's the arts district where they open up. Vendors are on the sidewalks. There's music playing.
Right.
Galleries of special exhibits. Sometimes they'll have free beer tastings at different galleries, which is cool because we have a large number of breweries. So it's really fun.
I think the most breweries per capita, actually.
Really?
Yeah, microbreweries. Yeah, you go to the beer stores now here. It's bewildering what the selection of.
You can choose which region of Maine and even which part of Portland you want your beer to come from now.
Right.
And most of these guys are local, they're not Sam Adams. They're most real live brewers who are really from local Mainers.
Yeah, exactly. I pass a couple on my 8-minute commute here. There's some in other parts of town.
Yep.
On the further end of Portland is Industrial Way, which is like the famed a little area where all these breweries came from. Allagash is there with a few other ones. So it's like the incubator for the breweries.
Speaking of which, there's an old, I don't know if they're still around, the Pub Crawlers. There's an old kind of punkish band from Portland. Is that, have you heard of them? They were pretty good back probably 10,
Pub Crawlers, you call them?
Yeah.
I haven't heard of them, no.
Kind of like an Irish punk band, if you will, from because that whole thing with the Dropkick Murphys and all that just exploded.
I was going to say, like a Dropkick Murphys.
Yeah, in the Northeast. And they were, I'm sure all of these bands hate being compared to Dropkick. I guarantee, I hate to even do that. But at the end of the day, that's the genre. And it's just they're from Portland, and they're relatively big in that kind of niche, actually. And it's you should check them out on YouTube. It sounds like they might not still. Like probably 10, 15 years.
I know Rustic Overtones is from Portland here, and they're big. They'll play on the radio and open for other acts across the country.
Really? All right, I have to write them down.
Recently, that was pretty good.
Cool. I have to check them out. All right.
Sure,
so lots of art up there, lots of culture, and it's only getting more and more and more. I just something. You think you got Boston, which is a wonderful town, and you got Philadelphia, but then Portland is just drawing. I would think, and not just. I hate to make this, but not just a certain artist type, but just a creative type. You see, and when I say art, I don't mean just some guy drawing, which is nice, but creativity types. YouTubers and stuff like that. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I would think it'd be drawn very attractive to that kind of person.
Yeah, definitely. It's kind of like this community where you get to express yourself a little more so than for sure other parts of Maine, and then maybe in level with those cities you just mentioned, except with a slower pace of life at the same time.
Right. Exactly. Right on. All right. Cool. All right. What else you got? Just give us the pitch.
Well,
Okay.
our next one is actually slower pace of life.
Yeah.
So I'm from northern Maine, so this is pretty quick for me.
Right.
But for everyone else, this is pretty relaxed, and I think it's a great mix between, having the services you need, being close by. I used to have to travel an hour and a half to get to the closest Walmart, closest mall. Obviously down here it's not the case. But yet, if you still want to, relax and have some peace and quiet, that's highly achievable in Portland without getting stressed out.
Right.
Even in the city proper too, by the way.
That's right.
Yeah, I mean, all those trails, 70 miles of trails in Portland, a lot of them pass through some public lands along rivers. You can go down there, you don't see anybody around, sit on a rock by the river, read a book, you won't be bothered. So.
Yeah, there's dog parks also you can go to. We have a video on that.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Huge dog parks, huge fenced in areas where your dog can run. You don't see anybody else. It's not like
really?
It's not like a pen where you have to there are those too, but they're small ones.
No, understood.
There was a dozen cars when we pulled in. We saw one person.
Right.
So.
Man, hear that, Pablo? That little puppy back there is like snoozing away, but he loves to run.
I love it.
Yeah. Excellent.
Now, you said, just real quick, so it's trails.org, and that has I hate to go back, but that has the listing of trails that go from Sebago through all the way to Portland at 28 miles.
Yeah, they got a few different maps. There's like the ones of just Portland proper, a few of different reserves around, and then they have the Sebago to the Sea Trail, which is Sebago Lake to the east end here, Casco Bay. So that's why they called it such. So.
Oh, that is fantastic, man.
That's around the Back Cove, if you remember Baxter.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, that's fantastic, man. Okay, cool. All right, good. So we got slow pace of life, but not too slow where you're bored. We still got creativity. Real quick, a funny anecdote. When we lived in Maine, my dad had a good friend who lived in Gorham. I think it was Gorham, someplace out there. This is back, in the old days. And he said he's going to the big city. And we're like, oh, man, you're going to see the Red Sox or something like that? He goes, no, I'm going to Portland. I'm like, okay. It's funny. It was out in the greater Portland area, but that was a big city to people in Portland. It's just kind of funny.
I think that sentiment's still well alive for the people that live, a half hour out or more.
For sure. Yeah.
All right. What else you got?
All right, well, number 5. The last one is.
This is the top one. My favorite.
Yeah, Matt's is the food.
The food in Portland. So we mentioned we got Bon Appetit City of the Year. There's just so many restaurants, happy hours, award-winning ones. I mean, it's just the options are endless. You can get any type of food you want. Almost all regions are represented. It's just amazing the breadth of food, and there's downtown, a couple of them, but one of them is the Portland Public Market, which is right on Monument Square across from the Time and Temperature building. You may remember it always has time and temperature on top of it. They have little booths there where people can try out restaurant concepts, and once they've proven that they have a good clientele and they can make money, then they know that they can go off to a brick and mortar. So.
Well, that's fantastic, Mike. You said it was Matt's favorite, but is that not you disagree, or what's your thought?
I would say I would agree with it also. I mean, Matt probably spends more time eating out than we do.
And money.
On that, but certainly, I mean, I'm a little. I don't live right in downtown Portland, but Matt certainly takes more advantage of it than
right. They got like Thai places, Mexican place. Yeah, the
Thai, Indian, Mexican. I mean, you name it.
They got
Vegetarian, vegan.
Everything from the hole in the wall, every type of restaurant to the high end ones that you can go and spend a couple $100s on one dinner. So.
And of course, seafood galore.
Sure.
Yes.
Yeah.
What's the cost for a pound of lobster nowadays? It was pretty cheap last time I was up there, like $5.99 a pound. I couldn't believe it. What's it looking at now?
Yeah, soft shell's always cheaper, which is what they'd have about this time of the year. And you're looking, right around $5 a pound. You can get hard shell, which I don't know if they have it available right now, but usually a couple more dollars a pound. So, it's more expensive than other meats, but sure, it's cheaper than you'll find it anywhere else in the country.
Well, it's just the idea is that cheap today when, 20 years ago, we thought there would be like no lobsters left. You know what I'm saying? It's crazy. So whatever they've done to regulate that has definitely worked, because if the lobsters were a few and far between, they wouldn't be $5.99 a pound. You know what I'm saying? So that's
right.
Kudos to whoever was policing that stuff up. That's a big deal, because Maine without lobster is like freaking Santa Claus without a bag of toys. That's for sure.
It's inconceivable.
Amado's. You ever been? Is Amado's still out there? You ever heard of
That was
it?
my first job in Portland.
Really?
When I moved down here to USM, they had an opening. I worked at the original one out on India Street for a few years.
Man, every now and again, guys, we'll still FedEx Amado's down here probably once or twice a year. In fact, I FedExed it to my sister who lives in North Jersey, in Morristown, New Jersey, and I think it was for her wedding anniversary or something like that. I FedExed it was a mirror.
Italian?
We have some Amados because that's something about the Amado's original Italian. Oh man,
You
it's
can't
good.
beat it. I've tried all the other ones here in town. You know, Ananias at different places have them, and there's just nothing that tastes like your $5 Amado's Italian. You know, even I work there and I still don't know the secrets. So.
You worked.
I don't. Maybe it's in the bread. You know, I have no idea.
Well, I told my wife when we was up there in 2011, I said, look, we got to go to Amado's. And somehow we went up to the one in South Portland. She goes, this is too far to drive. Because I said, look, we got to hit it before we leave. And she was very glad we went out of our way to Amado's. And she's a very discerning purveyor of food. Let's put it that way. And she said, oh, yeah, that was fantastic. I said, I don't know what it is. They drug the freaking thing and put some kind of narcotic in there. But whatever it is to die for.
Maybe it's the oil. I don't know.
And you worked there, man. You'd think they would have said, Matt, you got to lace this with some kind of sugar or something like that to get people to come back. And yet, you don't know.
Yeah, maybe I wasn't high enough in the rankings to share the inner workings yet. I don't know.
All right, so before I let you go, give us some reasons why people are not the reasons not to move there, but what are some of the roadblocks you hear from folks? And I don't know, man, Maine just what would it be?
The most common, obviously, is the long winters.
Yeah,
sure, right. You're going to deal with that. Long winters and snow. I mean, depending. If you're on the coast, the snow can be somewhat moderated, but not every year. Some years the coast can get a little more also, but basically the longer winters.
And I think the winters, it's not just the fact that it's cold and you got to shovel, so it's more work. But I think there's a bit of isolationism, depending on, you got to make the effort to go and enjoy winter, do those activities, make community with people and get out and enjoy. Otherwise, I mean, if you're going to stay inside to brave it, it's going to be a long 6 months.
Right.
Yeah.
And Portland does that. Portland has parks they set up for winter activities. They groom little trails so you can sort of like sled and just have a mini ski slopes, in the parks.
Yeah, they got some little rail jump sessions, jumps over on Payson Park. There's ice skating now right on Thompson's Point, right on the river, which is nice. And we're having Carnival Maine this winter for the first time, which is a recreation of the Quebec Winter Carnival right here in the East End.
Really? That's fantastic. And you all did a video on that too, by the way, on things to do in the wintertime in Portland. That was pretty cool.
We'll be there filming it. It's the last weekend of January, second last weekend. We'll have to double check, but we'll be there covering it.
Sure.
Well, they brought back the Mariners too, right? So I mean, you can go see the hockey. I guess they're double-A minor league hockey now, but they got the Maine Mariners back, right?
Yep.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, I forgot they brought them back. They were the Pirates.
Yep.
Yeah, and they left to some other town, and then they brought the Mariners in a year or two later. And then we obviously still have the Red Claws, the basketball team. It's the farm team for the Celtics. So.
Well, I didn't know that. Well, like the developmental league or something like that for the.
Yeah, exactly. And if one of the players gets hurt, they'll bring him back down this way. So Rajon Rondo a few years ago was playing here, just chilling out while he was getting better. And then there's a new guy. He's really tall. I'm blanking on his name right now, but he was here. He's here now. He's playing with the team. I'll have to think of it, but he's like the tallest player in the NBA right now.
So the Portland Red Claws are like the minor league team for the Celtics in Portland?
Yep.
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't know. That's fantastic.
The Mariners feed the Bruins, and and then our baseball team, which obviously is summer, they feed the Red Sox.
Yeah, no, the minor league system is strong. At least I know the Sea Dogs are a good draw. I'm not so sure about the Mariners. I just haven't paid much mind. I had no clue about the Sea Claws, but minor league. That's one thing I always say to folks. I want to live in a town that's got a big enough to have double-A baseball or minor leagues of some sort, because that generally means it has a somewhat of a thriving enough downtown to support the professional teams, because the Red Sox don't want to put a team in a place that's going to not draw and is going to fold and move to Erie, Pennsylvania or something like that. They want to
exactly.
They get a fan base. All right, so long winters, but we have, and I was going to say too, and Mike, you mentioned that in one of your videos. As you can tell, I'm a connoisseur of the videos y'all do. But they clear up the streets pretty well. I think that gets overlooked a lot for people who aren't from the north.
That's right.
You know, when you're in Atlanta, for instance, and we get even a speck of ice like this thick, you know, people freak out, and rightly so. We don't have the capacity to police all that stuff up. And Maine is not like that. In Maine, so chat on that a little bit, Mike, if you would, about how they, you know, how quickly the folks are to snowplow and stuff.
I mean, they'll be out there before the storm. There's plenty of capacity for clearing the snow, for moving it out, systems to keep the roads clear. It's not going to get school canceled like on a forecast of snow like you do in the mid-Atlantic necessarily. But yeah, it does get dealt with much, much better because it's a professional activity up here. Let's face it. You know,
they don't have volunteers. They got real live people, a real live crew.
Right, there's real live people that are doing it. And you still have volunteers in some of the where I'm in Richmond. We have volunteer volunteer fire department and stuff like that. But even those guys are well trained and they're professional, and they know how to go out and deal with the things that happen in the winter. It was maybe like the nor'easter, the windstorms. They'll be out there, working in that. One of my partner actually is on the Bodenham Fire Department as a volunteer. But any kind of windstorm, they forecast it. They're on call. They're already there. They're not going to wait for something to happen. They're already there.
Yeah.
Ready to go out, and they expect a line's going to go down or something like that. So yeah, we have not had a problem with that as far as the snow goes.
You still put chains on tires, or is that, I don't know if they do that, or you just get all weather. I don't know how it works anymore.
Yeah, you'll see studded tires. And I think people are always asking, do I need winter tires? And in my opinion, especially if you're not used to driving in the snow, then it's a great investment.
Yeah.
It keeps you that much.
Yeah, I would 100% agree with that. No reason not to have them.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, Subarus are definitely, four-wheel is definitely helpful, but that today all-wheel drive cars are pretty common. So
yeah, or at least front-wheel drive. That's one thing I've learned is that you need a front-wheel drive.
A true Mainer knows how to blast through anything in a front-wheel drive, right?
It doesn't matter if you're in a huge Humvee or just a little Toyota Corolla. If you got front-wheel drive, you will get there.
Yeah, I've seen Cavaliers go places you wouldn't imagine.
Especially in Fort Kent. Yeah, exactly. All right. So, any other? So, we talk about the cold, long winters, and they are long, and it gets dark there early. But if the side note to that is that it gets lighter earlier too. It's interesting. When I was growing up, I just remember going to on the island, just going down the beach at 6 in the morning, and the sun was already coming up. You know what I'm saying? In the wintertime, and it gets lighter in the morning. It gets darker earlier. I remember that. Yeah. But it's not longer per se in terms of the number of hours. I mean, still in the same hemisphere, but it's it can be different to people. Like we're in Western Georgia, and it doesn't get dark here till about not in the wintertime, but in the summertime it stays light till about 9 o'clock or so, and it can be different. Let's just put it that way. So just be advised. Right. But there are things to do and people to keep as a community for sure. All right. So if someone else says, all right, so we got the snow, we already talked about the taxes. Taxes are not, they're not New Hampshire property tax. Yeah. They're not Massachusetts income tax. We're probably middle of the road, I think, in terms of the Northeast.
State income tax. I mean, any rankings, we're not going to be we're going to be probably in the top 15, depending how you count it, even top 10 potentially as far as state income tax burden goes. But it's not like, we're double the next,
right. Yeah, it's not New Jersey or anything like that.
It's a game of inches. It's not like in the New York City, you're going to get city tax, local tax, and you pay what the toll is for the New York bridges now. But you don't have that sort of tax taxes that are there, but you don't call them taxes. But
I think it's $20 on GW Bridge now.
Yeah, something like that.
Wow.
Yeah,
$20. Great. In Philadelphia, we lived in South Jersey. To get into Philly costs $5. I mean, every single time. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. So
that's crazy.
So to be honest, I do a lot of financial planning. So I follow the tax situation pretty thoroughly on the state by state. And Maine's not extraordinarily high. I mean, it's not low per se, but it's not extraordinarily high by any stretch. Yeah. I'm glad that city of Portland doesn't have its own unique income tax. So is that correct? Okay. That's good.
Yeah.
What would
We have
be
a lot
one
to
other
tax,
real?
but
Go ahead, Matt.
that affects tourism more. So
Right.
Well, that's right. That's one of the benefits of living in a tourist place is that the
Right.
tourists pay the tax for the most part. I imagine eating
Right.
out, rentals, and things of that nature.
That's right.
sure.
What's one other thing that people say negative on? And when I say negative, I'm saying that facetiously to some degree, but that people say,
Yeah.
"Oh, no."
Well, you know, the classic Mainer saying, you can't get there from here, right? Yeah. So with the Jetport, it's really convenient, but it doesn't have as many direct flights as people, may like going in and out.
Right.
If you're going to even just going to Florida, you got to stop at least one stop to get down there.
Yeah.
So that, that's a negative to some degree.
Right. But but it's a positive in that you have it, but it's a negative in that, if you're looking for the ultimate convenience and ultimate best prices, you can't always get a flight to where you want to go nonstop. So,
and you get tons to Logan, I imagine, right? I mean,
yeah. So like Matt and I are going to Florida for a real estate conference at the end of February, and it was I think we got round trip tickets to Orlando for like $135 on JetBlue out of Logan.
Yeah.
Well, and that's Boston. That's only about an hour and 40 minutes, let's say, trip down there. But the ticket was double from out of Portland with a stop.
Yeah. Right.
It's
So
always the case. Sometimes Portland is cheaper, but you got to always know that you're going to have at least an extra stop.
Yeah, it can be. I had a buddy fly in from Philadelphia about 2 months ago, and it was like $100. So. It just depends what airlines are flying and what specials they're having, things like that.
But there is an airport, folks, and it does take planes. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
so it's not like you have to drive 4 hours to the Denver airport if you live in central Nebraska, or you don't have to drive to Boston to take Logan.
Right.
You can, and even with that said, Logan's a pretty easy to maneuver airport relative to Atlanta.
Sure.
I've flown out of Logan a million times, and relative to some of these other, Logan's actually quite easy to move around in. So even if you have to drive from Portland to Logan, it's just not that big of a deal to maneuver around the Boston airport. It's easy to get to for sure.
Right.
Show us your the thing that you showed me at the beginning of this, Mike, what y'all do and how people can get a hold of you.
Yeah. So we mentioned it before we started the call. So Matt and I are very education oriented as far as putting out information to help people whether they're looking to buy or sell here. But so we published a guide called Casco Bay.
Hold it up just a little bit, would you? There you go. Right on. Perfect.
Waterfront guide to Casco Bay and waterfront and coastal home guide. This gives you all the communities on Casco Bay. Talks about what kind of housing you might find there, general price points. Published another one specifically to Portland. They're buying a home in Portland, Maine. And then a lot of other smaller sub guides. One I'm coming out now just on condos, right? Talking about the condos. So if you want to look on the peninsula or off peninsula, but you want to know what the basic condo layouts are, the basic floor plans, the common charges, the common fees, and what to pay. We have one of those guides coming out now also. So
sure. FHA just changed the rules, Josh. It's the first time homeowners.
Not just first time.
Well, that's not what people think of it.
Right.
Right. They just changed the rules to open it up to way more condo projects. Used to be only 6% of condo buildings in the country were approved by FHA for financing, but now you can do it on an individual condo by condo basis, the approval process. So a whole building doesn't need to undergo it. You can just have that one condo seek it. So buyers can now get in for 3.5% versus your 10 or 20.
Right.
So we have a little guide on that change in financing too.
Well, so before that's news. I did not know that. So getting a mortgage on a condo was extremely difficult relative to down payment and stuff, or
you have what it is you have every condo's got an association, right, to maintain the roof, maintain the common areas, and so that has to be in good standing. That hasn't changed, but what's changed is that it used to be that in order to buy a condo in a condominium building, the entire building needed to be FHA approved, which is a whole process for that association to do. Not a lot of associations want to bother with that.
Most of
them they're more informal. They're not going to bother putting together and go to the expense of getting approval. So now what they've said is that we'll do spot approvals.
Right.
Really?
So you find the condo you like, as long as you show us that it's got good financials and the condominium association is not bankrupt or in debt, if they're solvent, we will approve you for an FHA financing on condo by condo basis, not a building by building basis.
That's huge, man.
Yeah, it's a lot more inventory gets opened up because FHA is an attractive option for a lot of buyers that want to come in Because there's no assets, income limits, but no asset limits, right?
Correct.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's by county, the income limits. So
Right.
they know that in, Cumberland County where Portland is, the limit's higher because of the, cost of living.
Right. So a lot of people get to use that. Yeah.
And that's through the lender would be the lender would go through the condo association, make sure that they're fully funded and all that, not the potential buyer necessarily, or.
Yeah, us and the lender would coordinate.
Okay.
Yeah.
But the buyer doesn't need to worry too much about that. But
they would call us. We would get the documents from the condo association. They track it all down and get it over to the lender.
That's huge. I noticed you guys have done a lot of videos on condos lately, and I just wonder if that's some pent up or some big demand going on there. Well, something like this sounds like it could be gigantic, actually.
Yeah,
sure. Yeah.
There's a lot of projects now. We were at a consortium last month.
Yep.
It was our meeting where we were a bunch of other agents that work in the area. They were presenting, looking at the condo developments that are online or coming online, and it was interesting because there one was, how many years was it? Was like several.
Yeah. Do you remember Rufus Deering Lumber on Commercial Street?
No.
It's a lumber yard right where High Street meets Commercial, and that was bought up and torn down, and now they're building. They're calling it Hobson's Landing because Hobson's Wharf's across the street, and I think there's. I think almost 40 units in there.
Right.
55% of them are sold, and their price points are 400 to 1.4 million.
Yeah. Right. And a lot of them they're going to be they're almost all. There's a perception that's really kind of false. It's sort of, we see it a lot in the comments to some of our videos and whatnot, that all these out of towners are coming in to buy investment properties and they're not going to live here. When the reality of it is 90+% of them are all owner occupied.
Sure, yeah.
Units. People are coming there. They're going to live in them. A lot of them are returning Mainers that went out and made their money elsewhere, or they're people want to come and just do the lifestyle because their kids are back here in Maine. Their kids moved here, but they were almost 90+%, 95% owner occupied, and they're not these
ghost communities.
Yeah, right. I was going to say, I mean,
investors. I'm not trying to put it,
Understood. But there's actually people who have.
But there is a perception that, well, we see the comments, like, you're on YouTube also. People got to hate on something, right? People got a lot of time on their hands, so you got these ridiculous comments. But contrary to those comments, the truth of the matter is that most of these units are being bought by people that are planning to be owner occupied.
Who are in the community.
That's right.
Shopping, spending.
Yep. That's right. And they're building new communities. They're forging new ties and new bonds.
Yeah.
A lot of them are. Like I'm 55, 56. A lot of them are my age, coming back in and buying. They don't want to deal with a large house, single family, for those types of reasons. And they can have this, this like, they may go south. Let's face it, for January, February. Right. You can't blame them for that, right? but they're here for the majority of the year. They're owner occupied. They're not buying them just to invest them in.
Well, to be honest with you, Mike, who doesn't go south if you can? You see what I'm saying?
I have a son. One of my sons is in Charlotte. We have 6 kids. So one of my kids is in Charlotte, not down in the Carolinas, and so look forward to visit him once in a while.
Yeah, once in a while in the wintertime. Shocking.
Yeah. That's our plan. And as we grow our business here, one thing about Keller Williams, we can have expansion teams and take our systems, our videos, our concept, and deploy them in different parts of the country.
That's great.
The next one is going to be in a warmer climate.
Well, I'll tell you, Atlanta, just real quick, the Atlanta proper, not the city, but kind of like the greater Portland area, the greater Atlanta. Man, they're building so many 55+ neighborhoods and communities here. It is freaking nuts, man. And they call them halfbacks. So they go from New York, but they don't want to go. They maybe go to Florida, but they go halfway back because they want to stay in a warmer climate and a little bit cheaper, but they don't like Florida, so they call them halfbacks. So they might end up in Georgia or Charlotte or Virginia or something like that. It's pretty interesting, actually. And booming. I mean, freaking Atlanta's booming, man. It's cranes everywhere. It's nuts. But it's interesting because everyone has this mentality like it's all moving to the south. I said, I don't think that's the case because look at you guys. I mean, Portland, Maine will never really be more than 65,000 people. But in terms of because there's land, there's only so much land that's already been built. But at the end of the day, you can build up if that makes sense. And and that sounds like what's happening. So not everyone is fleeing the north. They have this misconception, like you said, Mike. I get all the time on my channel. Everyone's fleeing California. Everyone's fleeing Maine. It's like it's just not true. I mean, there's some, but the vast majority of people stay where they're born and raised. And it's Yeah, we have evidence of the Census Bureau, evidence of all kinds of professors who study this, and the vast majority of people stay where they're raised, or they move back to where they're from, right? Because they have this need to get back, and it's actually pretty interesting, frankly.
Yeah, and they, for someone that's coming back to Maine, let's say they're coming back thinking of it as a retirement area.
Yep.
I mean, Maine does have, as the states goes, it does have an older population on average.
Yeah.
I mean, I think per capita, it's probably the oldest population average age.
I think it is, and even more than Florida. I think that's right. We're close. Yeah.
So that's, I think by 2025, 1 in 4 people in Maine will be 65 or older.
Wow.
So, that's going to create it creates all different dynamics. If you look at, demographics and the shifting, things like that, does it create more opportunities for, people to buy some of these homes that are outside the area?
Spot on.
Right.
And it creates opportunities for the younger folks to get a job. This is what I think people overlook is like, part of my expression, we got all the old folks top heavy. Well, they still need services by, like you were saying before, Matt, about people who can fix a toilet and stuff like that. I mean, as you get older, you don't have the inclination to do that. So it's obviously, and then doctors and stuff. So,
right.
What's your YouTube channel, gents? I'll put a link in the show notes, but.
So our YouTube channel is Living in Portland, Maine.
And here it is, guys. I'll show you right there. Living in Portland, Maine. Again, I'll link to the show notes. And you all have and here you go. You did one 5 days ago. Old Portland, Maine. Where to live and what to do. I mean, it's great. It's fun. Yeah. And then the nice thing is, unlike a lot of YouTube channels, Mike and Matt will actually show you the visual on the ground because Mike's got a experience in that kind of. You can just see it right there. It's visually appealing, is what I'm saying, without being too hoity-toity. What's your website, gents?
So it's realportlandmaine.com.
Yeah. Realportlandmaine.com. And if people are just interested, like a newsletter, sign up, get notifications on listings and stuff.
The YouTube channel is a great place to go because every description of our video has a wealth of information on there. If you pull up any video, look at the descriptions, there's links to everything about Portland, the municipal websites, the schedules, things like that.
Yeah, ways for us to help you further.
How to get our free guides. We're very active. YouTube is a great place to catch up with us and to follow us. Of course, Facebook and that sort of thing too.
Yeah, I'm looking at it right now. And then your contact info and all that. That's fantastic.
YouTube is a great place, I think. We get people calling us from all over the world. And we have, families coming up from the Carolinas that want to move in, and they'll call us up and say, hey,
That's awesome. I love it. I love YouTube gets a lot of bad raps, but man, it's been insane for me. I love it.
The number 2 search engine. It's the second most searched website, in the world. The number 1, of course, is
Google, who owns YouTube.
And Google owns YouTube. Yeah.
The irony of it is, how many people would rather see you in person on the YouTube as opposed to reading some crappy old blog? You know what I'm saying? People are just visually stimulating. And for my own channel, people say, Josh, I feel like I know you. I said, that's the whole point about YouTube.
Yep, same here. Yep, same here.
Well, Merry Christmas, y'all. It's like I said, let me stop recording. Hold on just a second, and we'll